12 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Good morning. Let's get the thoughts of the Mineral Councils of SA Chief Economist Henk Langenhoven. Henk is joining us this morning to unpack and get his thoughts of the budget speech yesterday. Morning to you, Henk, joining us from Pretoria. I imagine a lot of this has got to do with supply chains and logistics, and I would imagine the time for talk is over. What did you make of what the minister had to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a bit of an institutional shift. The thinking was hard to change, and then the regulatory side. One of my team members are working in the presidency on Lela, and how many of these mazes of regulatory bottlenecks that we're trying still to clear and make these processes faster, and then the incentives now is actually fantastic news. I'm afraid one shouldn't have telescopic view. This is going to take a while. We know that about 1,000 megawatts of new energy will come online this year from the private sector, and I'm not reckoning in the renewable energy. So it's going to take time, and we'll have to be clear that we'll have to make arrangements, each one of us, the best we can for a while. And just to give you an idea, I mean, Kumba reported that they have lots of stock at their mine, but they're trying to make certain that the harbor works 24 hours and not having load shedding. So it's all linked to one another. We also hear of load shedding here at Central Rand, which is actually the hub of where chrome, for example, goes to Richards Bay and Maputo, and that's actually a domino that we have to prevent.
How expensive is this domino effect to the minerals industry in our country? I imagine rail freight that can't get to port, then you have to deal with the issues at the port. Is there a number you can give me? How damaging is this?
Probably just a percentage. It's going to be up to 30% more to transport a ton of whatever to a port on trucks. And of course, then with all the other externalities, like you clogging the roads, there are accidents, you destroy some of the roads that aren't made for these heavy tonnages. Just remember, a lot of mining is actually taking far out in the rural areas, and more mines are opening, especially in the Northern Cape. And they have to find routes to get to if they can't find the tonnages on rail.
Excuse me for coughing. I just want to go one step back in the logistics chain here for a second, Henk, and I want to ask, before we even get to the freight and the ports, there's always this concern around coal and coal security in our country, widely reported last year about what's been termed the coal mafia. What is actually going on there? Is this a thing? Is this being dealt with, and how concerned are you if it is?
Look, one has to rely on the inside information that comes out of Eskom. We are aware of it, and we work with them and with the police. But there's no shortage at all of coal availability. Actually, the demand for coal from Eskom is declining, and they're sitting with reserves. At the moment, I heard yesterday that there are some of the stockpiles at some of the power stations are quite wet because of the rains that we had. But they also, in the previous round, if you recall, I can't remember how long ago, the same thing happened. And there were lots of work done for stormwater drainage, etc., etc. So that hopefully will be solved quickly.
On the coal mafia, though, is that a concern? I mean, obviously, security right now, there's a surplus, which is good. Is this coal mafia a concern for the council? Henk, I'm not sure if Henk is still with me. It looks like it might be frozen. Henk, my team are telling me it froze for a second. You might be back with me. Let me try again in case you missed my question. So good that there's a surplus of coal for Eskom. Perhaps if you are able to hear me, the concern for the council of this coal mafia that it's being called. I mean, how concerned are you when you hear terms like that?
It's a cancer. This happens, and it's extortion in many instances, but it's also corrupting people and communities around either coal mines and or the power stations, because people are paid, people that are sometimes unemployed or just being bribed are paid money that corrupt the society. So we see it at the mines as well with illegal mining, that very poor people are paid a 20 rand or 10 rand a bucket of rock that's brought up, and it's permeating into the communities, which is really not what the country needs.
No, certainly not. I don't imagine it's helpful in the least, and hopefully security, especially under the state of disaster, will be able to do something about that. Minerals Council of SA Chief Economist Henk Langenhoven, great insight and thoughts on what the budget means for the Minerals Council and also the minerals industry in our country. Thank you very much to Henk joining us this morning.